Welcome back to another installment of Best 5. Join us on our journey as we take a look at the weird, wild and wonderful. Today we cover 5 mysterious epidemics you didn't know existed. Modern medicine has made great strides in the understanding of various illnesses. There are some viruses that still continue to mystify scientists and doctors alike. They come about without any logic or reason and leave modern medicine baffled as to what they are. Today we take a look at 5 weird epidemics that still remain a mystery. On the night of September 15, 2007, a meteorite came crashing down near Carancas, Peru, close to the Bolivian border. Residents described seeing a firing flame of approximately 1,000 meters following the meteorite down. Life continued in Carancas until a few days later when hundreds of local residents became very sick. Doctors became overwhelmed by patients presenting symptoms of headaches, nausea, vomiting and diarrhea. Makeshift tents were set up around the town's medical centre to cope with the sheer numbers of locals falling ill. Doctors tried to figure out for days what was causing all of the sickness, but no clear answers could be found. Some scientists speculated that the water unearthed by the impact was contaminated with arsenic and that the steam coming from the impact crater was actually poisonous gas. Not all scientists were in agreement, and others believed that it was highly unlikely the meteorite was hot enough to create such boiling steam. There may never be answers as to what caused so many people to fall ill so suddenly, and it still remains a mystery today. In 1983, a Palestinian schoolgirl in the town of Araba found herself coughing uncontrollably and unable to breathe. Not long after symptoms started to show, she fell unconscious. In the days and weeks that followed, nearly 1,000 people became hospitalized after suffering from identical symptoms. What made this outbreak really strange was that most of the affected were Palestinian schoolgirls. A town mayor in Palestine immediately pointed the finger at the Israeli government and blamed them for testing some sort of chemical warfare on the local population. Israel denied this, as some of their female soldiers in the towns were also struck down with the illness. In the nearby town of Jenin, hundreds of people began to suffer from the same mysterious epidemic after they claimed they had seen a car drive through the streets emitting thick clouds of black smoke. A CDC investigation found that the school in which the epidemic originated showed a small trace amount of sulfide, a gas produced by poorly kept latrines. The Israeli authorities believed that the majority of cases were psychological and that Palestinians were trying to hype up the locals. Still, to this day, there is no clear answers as to what caused the outbreak in the first place. In 1997, nearly 700 children all across Japan were rushed to hospital after watching an episode of the popular cartoon Pokemon. Many concerned parents noticed that some of their children had vomited blood and others had seizures and lost consciousness. Many hospitals became baffled as to why this was happening, and attention soon turned towards the cartoon episode itself. It was believed that flashing lights and repetitive patterns towards the end of the episode had caused the reaction in children similar to epilepsy sufferers. A Japanese doctor who studied the episode suggested that the light emitted during the show could have induced the seizures. Studies had shown that none of the children had epilepsy, but it did highlight the dangers of television and the effect it can have in the real world. A very unusual epidemic swept throughout Europe in the 15th and 16th centuries, which many called the sweating sickness. It affected thousands of people across Europe and caused many symptoms such as paranoia and paralysis. What made this illness so terrifying is that it would usually have a mortality rate of almost 50%. Its cause was not known, but it continued to wreak havoc among the population. By the end of the 16th century, it seemed to almost have disappeared until 100 years later it resurfaced again. This time it reappeared in the Picardy region of France, and many medical experts agreed that it was indeed the dreaded sweating sickness back once again. It continued to stick around for many centuries before finally disappearing again after the end of World War I. The medical profession has never come to a full agreement as to what started this affliction. To this day, the Bacardi sweat, as it had become known, has been absent from the world, and long may that continue. In January 1962, in the small village of Tanganyika in Tanzania, an epidemic of laughing attacks struck an all-girls boarding school. What seemed like an ordinary fit of giggles among 3 friends soon turned into an epidemic, with 95 of the school's students becoming infected. 2 months later, in March, the school shut down completely out of medical concerns for its students. After it shut its doors, the infected girls were sent away to be housed in different villages, as it was thought that this would help stop the spread of the epidemic. However, this had only made the problem worse, as the laughing epidemic only spread onto others. More than 1,000 students became infected with fits of hysterical laughter, and a total of 14 schools had closed down. It eventually died down, and to this day no one knows exactly how the laughter epidemic came about. Although no one died from laughter, many people had become disrupted by it, and it was certainly no laughing matter. They say laughter is the best medicine. Perhaps not in this case then. A laughing epidemic, I can think of a lot worse things to be struck down with. What about you? As always, if you like our content, then please don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video. Until next time, this is Best 5 signing off.